where disaster is the talk of your town. I'm your hostess today. I'm Ruama Camp, Executive Director for Grace Community Services. Joining us today will be Mr. Joe Compion. I am so excited that you took time to come and join us here on the Ruse List. When I see you walk in the room, I just see wisdom.
Yeah, I'm sure you run the other way.
You're
I remember
awesome.
when we met years ago. You had the certified emergency response training over at your other facility, and now you're over here at River Oaks, and you know things are coming up for you, right?
Yes, we're moving on up. Yes, you're
No,
awesome.
it's great. It's great because as you grow, as Grace Community Services grows, I know that there's been a significant impact in helping others. So that's the important message there in terms of your success.
Thank you. Again, I just want to welcome you to the show today. I personally I admire you so very much and what you bring in everything that you do. I know that all the meetings I've ever attended where you're present, oh my God, when you open your mouth, you have so much coming out that can help us to move people forward. You're a great advocate for the community.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's not about me. It's about, you know, there's an good old Baptist minister friend of mine that I years ago said to me, I don't want to die tomorrow and meet the Lord and have to apologize for the fact that He gave me these tools and these abilities and a brain to think with, eyes to see, ears to hear with, and a mouth to be an advocate, and apologize for not utilizing those tools. So I don't want to be in that position.
Wow.
Okay, so.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, Mr. Compion.
Yes, ma'am.
You do a lot.
Well, we try to do. We all try to do something, right?
Yes,
all try
we
to
do.
something.
Tell me a little bit about the Gulf Coast Interfaith, what they do, their mission, and what your role is.
Well, Gulf Coast Interfaith is a community organizing group. It is faith-based. We started off with 4 churches from a variety of denominations. Actually, the original group was our Jewish congregation on the island, the Muslim mosque on the island, the Catholic Church, and a Methodist church.
Oh my
God. And that was our original founding group, and I think the Presbyterians were in there too. Let's not leave them out, okay? Because I'll get letters from them, and I don't want them.
Don't get letters.
They write good letters, those Presbyterians. So it was a small group of about 5 churches that came together, and the goal was, let's try to identify those principles that all of our religions share, and let's become advocates for those principles in order to create a better community. So we won't, you know, we have perhaps our disagreements on certain areas, but let's put those aside because we are people of faith, and let's see if we can accomplish something with that faith. So it's faith in action, right? Faith in action.
Faith in action. That's awesome.
And so we began that effort. We're an affiliation of the Industrial Areas Foundation, which is a national community organizing group, where incidentally President Obama received some of his training. For some people, that's great. For some others, it's, wow, very bad. But it happened. It happened. So we're proud of the success record that community organizing has had within the IAF. And so, as I said, we're issues oriented. And right now our focus in Gulf Coast Interfaith, as well as with our sister organizations, is on health issues, job training, education, and economic development issues that provide jobs, of course, and other benefits to our community.
On your economic development, what are you guys noticing and finding that is the trend that has happened after Hurricane Ike?
Well, on the economic development side, our small businesses are hurting. You know, the foundation of jobs in this country is small business.
That's right.
But it's the larger businesses that get all the attentions, right?
That's
it's
right.
all the for-profit groups that get attention, and the non-profit groups, well, they don't get that attention. So the small businesses that were underinsured or did not have insurance or were historically family-owned businesses were devastated by Hurricane Ike. And they're struggling. You walk into a business today, and I happen to know most of these business people because I grew up in Galveston, was born there, my family's been there. one of the things that I notice is that I walk into particularly restaurants, and who do I see? I usually see the owners of the business that are working. I don't see additional employees because they are trying to maintain that business the best way they know how. And bottom line is, it's just you and me. And because I know if it was just you and me and we didn't have any other support, we'd still be out there doing something.
Absolutely.
And that's the same attitude that these small business owners have.
What is being done, and what can we as a community do to change that?
Well, there's through Gulf Coast Interfaith, and you participated with us in these efforts, we have been at every public meeting. Our community, whoever you are, whatever economic level you are, have to understand that the people's work is done in a series of public meetings that usually happen during the day. So really the people's work is not so accessible to the people. And so it takes an effort on our part to be present at those particular meetings.
That's right.
And you know, when we first started this adventure and the first round of community development block grant dollars, about 80 of us appeared in a public hearing in Texas City.
Yes.
All faith groups, all people of different languages and colors were there to say, we need help with housing.
Yes.
And we were successful on that because the initial funds were going to go to infrastructure. Infrastructure means traditionally what has happened, we're going to go back and rebuild those roads. Those projects that have been on the books for years, they were utilizing the disaster as a way to rebuild that. And housing wasn't even something that even being considered. But we got out there, and you were articulate. I remember that speech you gave at that talk describing our community as this great big bowl of a mixed salad.
Yes.
And a tasty mixed salad, because those are the best types of salads, where you have all different, that romaine lettuce, the regular lettuce, the tomatoes, everybody, you know, and in that great big bowl. And with that advocacy and with that articulateness that you gave, we were able to successfully advocate for 60% of that first round of dollars to go to housing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was. And we've continued that. And we have continued that effort. You know, you also remember at that first meeting, the first announcements were, we'll let the public, if any public officials in the audience would like to first address. Well, God be praised for this one. We go to those meetings now, and the first question is Mr. Joe Compion with Gulf Coast Interfaith here, right?
Yes,
they don't
it
even
is.
ask the public officials, because I think that we've utilized effectively the knowledge and the tools that God has given us to become advocates for our community.
Absolutely.
And no one is paying us to do this.
No.
Let's make that clear. No one is paying us to do this. There's some people who call us members of the poverty industry right now. And that is so hateful and harmful. That doesn't help anyone in terms of trying to create a stronger and bigger community. You know, compassion is not a business. It just happens naturally.
Absolutely.
Right? And it just happens naturally.
It just happens naturally.
And it begins in our home and our family. I know that compassion I generated from my mother and my father, right? Their doors were always open. And you come to our house, you're going to leave with something. It might be good talk, it might be a cup of coffee, it might be something to eat, but you're going to leave with something. And that's the same attitude that I know you have at Grace Community Services. I remember the first time walking into your small little offices on that south side, and it said, this is a blessed place.
Yes.
And it was
God
good.
dwells there.
Yes.
He dwells with grace.
Yes.
You know, but I am just so excited about this journey for Grace. Collaboration.
That's been, oh, wow, huh?
It leaves you speechless, because we have been able to work with some awesome people that all have the same desire.
That's right.
To heal a hurting community.
That's right.
No matter what you look like. And it is sad that people think that because you have that compassion and that desire, you're looking for a dollar. Well, what I learned is that money does matter, because you can't help people without it.
That's right.
And so I am so grateful for Gulf Coast, especially Joe Higgs as well.
Joe Higgs.
He's everywhere.
That's right. That's right.
And I've learned that if you don't show up at the meeting, you can't complain.
You can't. You can't.
You have to either send someone, bring someone, you have to participate. I believe that government officials will do what they have to do when they know what you want.
That's right.
But if you don't show up, they don't know. So then they revert back to paper. And people are not paper.
This is right. And the other, and I'll add to this, in terms of that advocacy part, Ruin, you and I have both seen that. If a person with limited education, with limited ability to communicate, goes and attends these forums, and they try to convey their message, notwithstanding the power that's behind it, they're largely ignored. Why? Because people that are in these positions of power think that they can only relate to other people that communicate effectively. Your previous guest had a degree in communications. God, I wish we were all blessed with those sorts of skills and talents, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what we need on this side. So our effort, and it's been a great adventure, right? And it continues, is to utilize these skills and talents that God has given us to be that voice for so many people.
That's right.
who can't speak.
And you know, it's good you stated that, because disaster case management, social services, case managers, we are the mouthpiece.
Exactly.
We're the mouthpiece for people who don't feel articulate.
That's right.
Or whatever you need for me to be. But as a case manager, we actually pack those people in our heart and in our head.
Amen.
And we will go to whatever length it is to get them the resources. That's why we felt the need for Ruth's List.
Yes.
When the governmental agencies that have sponsored case management have left the community, will the community know the resources that are left behind?
Yeah. And that is a challenge in any community, correct? The Jesse Tree, a long-term social service organization. Long-term there. Mm-hmm. Actually, the initial formation of the Jesse Tree was the churches once again. The churches had people knocking at their doors, and after a while, the priests, the ministers, the pastors started wondering and started comparing stories. Well, you know, I heard that story. Someone did come knocking at my church. So they realized that in order to become more effective and to continue their mission of compassion for others, is if they could collaborate and with a single source. So the small group of churches came together to basically form the Jesse Tree and help in its formation. Okay, through its executive director, Ted Hanley, who was working for the Sisters of Charity down there at that particular time. So that was the origin. It was various churches coming together, and then they could simply refer individuals, go there. That's who we utilize for services. And it began simply as food. It continues today as food, right? It's expanded to the extent that funds are available. Once again, the storm had a big impact. Some of the churches that used to substantially support us themselves are affected. And so, but when funds are available, we provide rental assistance, emergency utility assistance. Thank God, 3 years ago, I was able to come aboard and develop the prescription advocacy program, which expanded to the patient advocacy program as well too.
Tell us about that.
And so, well, we realized in our community, even though we have this great institution down there, a teaching hospital, funded by the state of Texas as UTMB Medical Branch down there, people are still falling in the gaps. UTMB is great for emergency services because by law you can't turn away anyone. The gaps occur once you've gone to that ER and they suddenly tell you, by the way, we discovered that you have this suspicious lump in your breast right here. That's not emergency anymore. So it's up to you to go seek your own medical assistance at that point. And then they tell you that, and you're like, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? Well, most of the people turn to the Jesse Tree. That's where our patient advocacy comes in. And so we've been able to patch together a method working with St. Vincent's Clinic down there as well too, to access individuals for these services. And more importantly, you also walk out of that ER usually with a prescription that you don't have money to pay for, right? And yet it's perhaps a very important antibiotic that you need. And so we're able to provide, and that has been very good. We've been able to generate the financial assistance to keep that going and growing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up for me.
Okay. I thought I was here for 3 hours.
Well, you know, unfortunately, like I stated, you have so much wisdom and knowledge. Our show just can't contain it. However, we're so grateful again for the work that you do in the community. Thank you for giving us information about the Jesse Tree. The Jesse Tree will be on the island when the case managers are gone.
We'll continue there. 27th and Market Street, and we have bilingual services, Espanol. We speak it, and we pray in it too.
Awesome.
So we're there. Okay?
That's awesome. And thank you for your information about the Gulf Coast Interfaith. And thank you so much for all the advocacy that you guys bring to the table. Well, to all our listening audience, I hope that you will go back and sit down and write down the information that Mr. Compion has given you on today. Again, join us here for the Ruse List. Bring a friend, tell someone, and have a great, fantastic day.